Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Heart Breathings. So I have moved my spooky throne here into the bedroom because I'm going to be recording hopefully the rest of the episodes of Demons Forever today, because we're going to be doing these premieres through the rest of October and the final week of October. On Monday, we'll have episode 21, and then episode 22, which will be the finale of Demons Forever, will be live. And then we'll go live that Friday for Halloween. Hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe from the Magic Kingdom. I'm going to see if I can work that out for you guys because I think it would be super fun, but we'll see if that's possible. I'm going to have to ask them and see if they'll let me do it. So we'll see how it goes. If not, we will be Magic Kingdom adjacent. Maybe I can go to Disney Springs or something and go live from a cafe or something there. But either way, we will be doing the premieres, and then we'll have live Coffee Chat Fridays through the rest of October. I am planning to still keep up with the live coffee chats only in the months of November and December, but I just calculated recently, I was working on the trips that we've got coming up, and I calculated that we have 7 more moves just this year, and we may still be moving well into 2022. So lots of moves coming up in our family. So we'll see how it goes. I definitely want to keep up with the lives because they just feed my soul and my heart, and I just love hanging out with you guys. So we'll see how it goes. But at the same time, I really want to also be writing book 12 of the series. So if I feel in any way that the lives will interfere with the writing, I will just let you guys know. So again, thank you for being flexible. Thank you for being so awesome. And thank you so much for being here for these readings. It is so hard to believe as we get into the final 6 chapters of this book. Well, I guess there's maybe 8 chapters left to go. As we get into these final few weeks of this book, I am also getting ready to begin writing the rough draft of book 12, which is such a perfect coming full circle kind of moment. So I'm really excited for that. I'm very nervous and thrilled about the opportunity to write the final book in this series. And I'm already, thinking through how Harper's story ends, where it all comes together, and revisiting these pages is such a gift. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here. I hope that you're enjoying it. I have seen several people say, I couldn't wait. I had to know what happened. And now they're on book 9 or 10. So if you have been enjoying these books, then book 6, of course, has been published since 2012. So you can go grab the rest of this one if you don't want to wait for the readings. And then we also have books 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 are all available for you, as well as a bunch of side stories. So if you want to live in this world for a while, there's a lot of opportunity. But I just finished planning Q4 as well. So that for me is October, November, December. And in that, I've got some really cool plans for the launch of book 12, which won't be coming until next year, but I've already started planning some things like some exclusive hardcovers, some box set stuff, lots of fun stuff. So stay on the lookout for that because I'm hoping to announce some of that during the Spooktacular, which will take place over the last couple of weeks of October. So fun times. If you're here, don't forget to subscribe and please hit the thumbs up button down below. Leave a comment if you can, because that lets YouTube know that you guys are enjoying these videos. I certainly appreciate it. Okay, so in episode 14, we saw basically Sarra, Marianne, and finally Angela is awake. And so they started thinking about their plans. And one of the things they found out as they started discussing this spell book that Andros gave them in the Shadow World is that Sarra says, that was my great aunt or whatever, Alexandra, who was one of the original witches who started the order. That was her journal, and it must have had important information in it because my mom got really mad when she found out that it was lost. And so that tells them that this could really be true, that this isn't some trick, that this isn't just some book that a hunter had that has nothing to do with the truth of the order. This really could be the spell that frees Airden and frees all these demons. So they're getting to the real hope of the moment, can we free these people? So we are going to move on to episode 15. Let me make sure I have the right order here. I'm going to set this to the side. Episode 15, chapter 58, A Magical Battery. Let me make sure I know who's talking first. Hold on. Okay. The diary says that in order to reverse the magic that binds a prima to her demon, you must perform the original initiation spell backwards using all of the original ritual items, I explained. I listed them using my fingers. The cup, the ring, the necklace, the ritual dagger, and the master stone. If this works and we really are able to free Erden, then Peachville is only the beginning. The first step will be finding the original items from the ritual, Jackson said. Since these items are still used in the initiation ceremonies, I imagine they're guarded by the primas of each Demon Gate town. Angela nodded. Peachville's ritual items were always kept with Lydia Ashworth, she said. When she was taken prisoner, the order transferred them all to the Harris family. Brooke. If Priestess Winter had succeeded in killing me several months ago, Brooke would be the prima futura right now. What about my necklace? I asked, reaching to my throat. I'd had that necklace since I was a little girl, and I wanted it back. They took it from me in that last ceremony. Angela pressed her lips together and grimaced. The Harris family got that too, she said. I've seen Brooke wear it to school a couple times. Anger rolled through me like a wave. The image of her prancing around wearing my necklace as if she was already prima made me sick to my stomach. What does the ritual involve? Sarra asked. I've never seen a demon gate being opened for the first time. It's rarely done anymore. Why not? I asked. I'm not certain, she said. I think it might have something to do with the way the gates work. They have to be placed in areas where the magical barrier between the shadow world and the human world is weak. The two worlds must be close enough for the barrier to be brought down and the demons to pass through. I would guess the rituals have slowed because all the magical locations have already been used. I nodded, bringing a hand to my mouth in thought. It made sense. The ritual itself is pretty simple, I said. Once we have the items we need, it's mostly just a matter of reciting the right words in the right order. We'll need 5 women from the town to stand on the 5 points of the star. We'll also need someone to act as priestess. I looked at Sarra, and she brought her hands to her lap. I can do it, she said. Who are the 5 women, though? Marianne, Angela, and you. That's only 3. I was thinking Lark and Courtney, I said. We'll have to bring them up here and explain the ritual first, but I'm sure they'll help us. We might even be able to get a few others, like Lark's mom, to help just in case. What else do we need? Marianne asked. We'll need people to stand guard in case Priestess Winter or other members of the Order show up and try to stop us, Jackson said. I'll be in charge of leading that group. Sorry, the door was like making a crazy sound. Did you hear that? Sorry about that. Essex stood. I will join you in this fight. Jackson nodded. Thank you. I'm hoping I can find my other Shadow Demon friends who are still here in the human world. Juiced, Mordecai, and the others, he said. If anyone else has some ideas of who else we can ask for help, we'll need all the bodies we can get. What about the ritual items? Angela asked. The cup, the necklace, and the dagger are with the Harris family, but what about the ring and the master stone? I patted my pocket. I have the ring. Angela gasped. You do? I've never seen a ring used in the rituals here. Where did you get it? It was in the shadow world, I said. The ring is part of the magic that allowed the Order to open multiple gates of the same color gemstone. The ring was placed in a special area of great power for the corresponding colored stone. They call it an anchor. When I found the blue ring and took it out of that area, all the blue gates became inactive. All except one, Sarra said, her eyebrow raised. The original blue gate at Winterhaven is still active. Yes, I said. I thought that might be how it worked. The ring kept the additional gates open, but the original gate would be unaffected. But what is the Master Stone? Angela asked. We wondered that too, I said, looking at Jackson. We decided it has to be the portal stone, right? It's the largest stone, and all of the other ritual items have a chip of the portal stone inside them. Yes, it makes sense, Sarra said. It was reassuring to hear her agree with us on that. I had never specifically seen or heard the portal stone referred to as the Master Stone, so it made me nervous. I didn't like making assumptions about something like this, since we'd likely only have one good shot at the ritual reversal. After that, the ritual room would be guarded and closed off at all times. I'd like to see if we can find more information on the Master Stone, just to be sure, I said. Sarra, maybe you could help with that. Of course, she said. The first step is to get the 3 ritual items from the Harris house, I said. Any ideas? Why don't we just break in and take them? Marianne asked. There are 6 of us, and we're pretty powerful. Brooke's older sisters have already graduated and left home, haven't they? So it would probably just be her and her mom there. The problem is we don't want anyone to suspect what we're planning, I said. Right now, our main advantage is that Priestess Winter has no idea we have the diary or that we're planning to try to free Airden. If she finds out we are gathering the ritual items, she'll guard the portal stone with an army. We'll have to wait until no one is home to take the items. That might be a problem, Angela said, cringing. I know from our weekly meetings that after the items were moved to the Harris house, they had a security system installed in the house. Video surveillance cameras on the main doors. If you go inside, they'll see you. They'll know you were there, and when they see the items gone, they'll be able to guess what you were up to. So we have 2 problems, Marianne said. We have to find a way to trick the video cameras, and we need to get the items in such a way no one knows they're gone until it's too late, Marianne said. Exactly, I said. Essex had been silent throughout most of the discussion, but he sat up now and cleared his throat. I would like to make a suggestion, if I may, he said. What if we were able to make copies of the ritual items, something that looks identical to the ones you will steal? Then we could switch them out and no one would know they were gone. Jackson straightened. That's a great idea, he said. How do we do that, though? They'd have to be perfect copies for it to work. We can use glamours, I said, my heart racing. It felt good to be coming up with a real plan. The idea of finally being free of the Order's power was exhilarating. It was all beginning to feel so real. We can't glamour them indefinitely, Jackson said. They'll lose the illusion the minute someone stops concentrating on them. I don't think we can afford to have someone hanging out there at Brooke's house all the time to keep up that one spell. I can create a glamour that will last many days, even without concentration, Essex said. Jackson furrowed his brow and stood to pace the length of the table. How? By using the stones, he said, just like the elders. You mean the magical battery? Jackson asked. Yes, this is what I mean. Essex looked around the table. Wait, I'm lost, I said. Can you explain it? What kind of battery? Jackson came to stand behind his chair and placed his hands on the back of the seat. You remember the soul stone Marianne's ancestor used to stay alive? How could I forget? I nodded, thinking of the Crow Witch and how she had been alive almost 120 years through the use of a soul stone. The soul stone would draw a witch's essence and power from her body, he explained. Then the Crow Witch used the stolen power as a type of battery to keep herself alive. Well, that was just a perverted version of the elder's magic Essex is talking about. In our culture, our elders choose when it's their time to move on to the afterworld. Usually this happens when their child is ready to have a child of their own. During their passing, the elder pours a portion of their power and essence willingly into a stone similar to a soul stone. It's a type of voluntary sacrifice, representing love and a promise to future generations. And the stone, Sarra asked, what happens to it? It can be used for anything that takes power, Jackson said. It's the elder's way of giving back to our world. Sometimes a stone can be used to power a certain spell for decades. The lights in a city, for example, or a protection spell around a home. Usually it's up to the family how to use the stone's power. I listened carefully, trying to wrap my head around it. I turned to Essex. So you're saying you can make a glamour last longer by using one of these stones to power it? Yes, he said, except no one will have to pass away in order to make this magic work. If we all allow the stones to absorb even a tiny portion of our power, it should be enough to run a simple glamour spell for at least a week. Excitement rushed through me. Where would we get the stones we need? Essex reached into his backpack. He pulled out a handful of different colored stones from the shadow world. I wanted to kiss him. I was so happy. This is awesome, I said. That solves the issue of the order knowing we took the items, Jackson said. We still have to figure out how we're going to get in there to switch them for the real items without being noticed by the cameras. I had an idea, but I knew Jackson wasn't going to like it. I'm just going to walk in and get them, I said, my heart pounding. Jackson groaned. Of course you are. How do you plan on pulling that off? Marianne asked. I smiled. I'm going to become Brooke Harris. Chapter 59. No one will even know it's me. It's too risky, Jackson said. You don't need to leave the Crow Village until it's time to perform the ritual. I shook my head. No one will even know it's me, I said. Glamours are practically second nature to me now. All I have to do is copy Brooke's look. Jackson stood and pushed his chair in toward the table. I don't like it, Harper. I thought we decided you would stay here no matter what, he said. If anything goes wrong and they find out it's you, they won't, I said. What if Brooke comes home while you're there? He said. I think they'll notice if there are two Brookes walking around. I can help, Marianne said. I'll use my crow form and watch out for Brooke. If I see her car drive up, I can warn Harper. And I can disappear if that happens, I said. As long as I have an exit strategy, it shouldn't be too hard. We just need to spend some time watching her routine and make sure we know when she'll be gone. She's at school every morning by 7:45, Angela said. Before I was taken, Brooke would always come to my office and say hello in the mornings. Great. What about the rest of her family? What are their routines? Her older sisters have already moved out, so you won't have to worry about them, she said. Her dad works at the bank, and they open at 8, so he probably leaves earlier than Brooke in the mornings. It's her mom you might have to worry about. I cringed. If my glamour was off even the tiniest bit, her mother would spot it in a heartbeat if she got a clear look at me. She's a stay-at-home mom? Marianne asked. Angela nodded. I don't know if she has any set schedule, really. That could be a problem, Jackson said. You can't go in there if her mom is home. If she sees you taking the ritual items, it's all over. Wait, Angela said, raising her eyebrows. Laura goes running every morning. She's mentioned it several times. It used to annoy me because she was always bragging about running no matter what the weather was like outside. Any idea what time in the morning? I asked. I'm not sure, she said. I just know she usually doesn't come into the school on Fridays until about 9 because she runs and then showers. Since the Harris's house is out in the country, we can go tomorrow morning and hide in the field across from her house. We'll keep a close eye on the three of them and wait until they've all left the house. Then what? Jackson asked. I shrugged. Then I walk back into the house and switch out the ritual items. And what if Brooke's mom comes home while you're still there? I'll just say I forgot something I needed for school, a book or something. Brooke carries a backpack to school, right? Angela thought for a second, then nodded. Yes, she has a blue messenger bag she carries. Perfect, I said. Do you think you can describe it to Essex? If he could make a similar bag tonight, I can take that and glamour it to look like Brooke's tomorrow when she walks out to her car. I should be able to get a good enough look at her to copy her. I can hide the ritual items inside. I still don't like this, Jackson said. He gripped the back of his chair. It's too quick. I think we should take a few days to scope it out and make sure of their routines and maybe find out where they're keeping the items in the house. What if you go in there and you can't find them? If her mom sees you, she's going to wonder what you're looking for. I can say I lost my shoe or something, I said. If I can't find them within 15 minutes, or if she comes home, I can just leave. I don't want to put this off any longer. Every day we hide out here in the Crow Village is another day Priestess Winter is looking for us. We have to move as fast as we can if we're going to have any chance of saving Airden. Jackson drew his hand through his hair and sighed. Okay, but I'm coming with you. I shook my head. No, you have to stay here, I said. If something does go wrong, I'll need you to come save me. He tensed his jaw and took several deep breaths in and out. If there's even the slightest hint that something is off, I mean, even just a feeling in your gut, or Brooke's mom comes in and looks at you funny, anything, you promise me you'll just get the hell out of there, okay? I nodded and saluted. Promise. He smiled and rolled his eyes. You're lucky you're so cute. I stood and hugged him tight, grateful for every moment we had together. I'm lucky for a lot of reasons. Chapter 60, Leap of Faith. After breakfast, everyone separated to work on various jobs. Essex and Marianne began on the ritual item replicas and the messenger bag. Sarra sat alone at the big table, writing out as much information as she could remember about her family tree. Jackson, Angela, and I gathered in the living room of the gray house where Jackson and I were staying. What can I do? Angela asked. Is there anything else we can do now to prepare for the ritual? Besides the items from Book's house, what else do we need? I went through a mental checklist of what we might need. I could only think of one other thing we'd need besides the ritual items, and I knew it wouldn't be an easy task. People, I said. People? Angela asked, sitting down on the leather couch in the center of the room. We need an army, I said. The day we go to perform the ritual, I want to have as many people there protecting us as possible. That way, if Priestess Winter shows up, she'll have to get through an army before she can stop us. The problem is, how do we know who we can trust? Jackson asked. He sat down in a recliner near the fireplace. I grabbed a notebook and pencil and chose a spot on the floor, using the coffee table as a desk. Yeah, that's the hard part. After what Lydia Ashworth told me, I'm scared there's really no way to know what's real and what isn't. I tapped the pencil on the surface of the wood table. It's already hard enough to tell who is good and who is evil in this town. Now that we know people have been trading favors in exchange for permanent spells and glamours, it's just going to be harder to know who's even really who they say they are. Angela sighed and rubbed her forehead. I still can't believe she did that to her own sister, she said. She betrayed everyone when you think about it. My heart ached. My mother was dead because of Lydia Ashworth, someone she trusted and loved as a friend. I shuddered. Trust was a tricky thing. You never really knew if someone could be trusted until you found out they'd already betrayed you. The best we can do is go with our gut, I said. We need to make a list of everyone we think will truly stand by our side when it comes to fighting against Priestess Winter. Some names will be easy to add. You can put Juiced, Mordecai, Eric, and Christo on the list, Jackson said. I know we can trust them, and they'll stand by us through the fight. Do you know how to get in touch with them? I asked. They could be anywhere in the world right now. They used to leave me messages in the barn at Shadowford, he said. I can leave something there just in case they're checking it from time to time. There are no guarantees, but it's worth a shot. I wrote their names at the top of my list. Courtney, Lark, and her mom are on our side too, I said. Who else? Angela named 6 women in the Peachville order she said would stand against Priestess Winter. What about the Sullivans? I asked. Who? Jackson asked. The Prima family from Cyprus, I said. After the ordeal with Caroline, Eloise said she thought of me as one of her own daughters. There's also a piece of their demon inside me. I want to trust them, but to ask them to join us puts them in a tough position. And if they die in an attack, the entire town of Cyprus would die too, Angela said. It's risky. Still, we need all the help we can get, I said. I'm going to write them on the list, and if they want to join us, maybe they can leave Meredith at home so the whole town isn't in danger. I don't think it would hurt to let them know our plans and let them make the decision on their own. Jackson and Angela nodded. We continued to list anyone and everyone we could think of, and when we were finished, we had about 15 names. I wish Leah had come, Jackson said. Hearing her name made my stomach tighten. It was probably my fault she wasn't here. She made her choice, I said. There's nothing we can do about that now. Jackson looked toward the fireplace, a tight expression on his face. No, there isn't. I swallowed, pushing back a rush of jealousy. He had chosen me, so I knew he wasn't upset because he wanted to be with her. Still, it was obvious he cared for her, and she had let him down. How are we going to let everyone know what we're planning? Angela asked. We can't possibly risk going around talking to these people individually. I bit my lip. She had a point. We needed to get everyone to one central location and explain our plan to them all at once. We could do the meeting here in the safety of the Crow Village, but how to get everyone here without going to talk to them? Then it hit me. I sat up on my knees, excitement dancing through my veins. The shoes, I said. Angela scrunched her eyebrows together. What in the world are you talking about? The cheerleading shoes, I said. You used to put a memory spell inside them so that when we put them on, we'd automatically know the steps of a cheer or a dance, right? She nodded, but still looked confused. Could you put a similar spell on the wristbands Essex made? I asked. Something that would give people a memory of how to get here to the Crow Village. Her eyes grew wide and her lips parted. Then she smiled, finally understanding what I meant. Yes, I could put a movement spell on the wristband so that when anyone put it on, they would know the steps to get here. They wouldn't necessarily understand where they were headed or why, but the bands could bring them here or to any location we wanted. We could mail them out to the people we want to invite, I said. Maybe we could include some kind of message to let them know it was a secret meeting with me. The wristband would allow them to get into the village. All they would have to do is put it on and follow the steps. Very smart, Jackson said. Of course, once they get here, our secret hiding place won't be a secret anymore. It's a risk we're going to have to take, I said. If we go anywhere else, we'll risk being discovered. At the meeting, we can ask everyone to make a decision about whether to help or not, Angela said. If they decide they don't want to risk their lives for this, we can ask them to take a potion that will make them forget. That way, Priestess Winter can't hold them responsible for keeping secrets, but we also won't have to worry about telling anyone where we are or what we have planned. Good idea, I said. I'll go talk to Essex and see if I can get started on the memory spells, Angela said, standing. I'll have to imbue each one with specific directions from their house to the village. This could take some time. I looked back over the small list of names. My stomach nodded. We were taking a huge risk trusting these people, but we needed the help. It was truly a leap of faith. I carefully tore the list from the notebook and passed it to my sister, my hand trembling slightly as I let go. Chapter 61. There wasn't a minute to waste. Marianne and I woke up super early to prepare for our trip to Brooks. I practiced my glamours, making myself look like Marianne, Angela, and Sarra until I felt confident I could replicate Brooks' body and clothes with nothing more than a brief glance as she walked to her car. The glamour had to be convincing enough to fool her mom if necessary. My skin tingled. Getting the ritual items was vital to our plan. Without them, there was no hope of even attempting to free Airden. Today had to be a success. I glanced at the clock. 6:30. You ready? I asked Marianne. We need to get over there early enough to make sure we don't miss anyone leaving the house. Marianne pushed her hair behind her ear. I'm ready, she said. I'll shift to crow form and stay there until we get back unless you need me. Once you're inside, listen closely for my call. I'll fly onto the roof and make as much noise as possible if someone is coming back into the house. I nodded and wiped my sweaty hands on the jeans. Let's do this, I said. Jackson stood in the doorway of our gray house, his arms crossed at his chest, worry in his eyes. I brought a hand to my lips and blew him a kiss from the bottom of the steps. A weak smile tugged at one corner of his mouth. Be careful, he said. If you're not back here in 2 hours, I'm coming after you. We'll be back, I said. I picked up my bag full of fake ritual items. They weren't exact copies yet. Essex had done most of the work, and last night the 6 of us had gathered around the stones and poured a small part of our energy inside. According to Essex, our gifted power would allow the items to hold their glamours for at least a week. As soon as I found the 3 ritual items inside the Harris house, I would simply have to use my glamour magic to make our fakes look exactly the same before I put them in place. By the time the stones lost their charge and the glamours faded, Airden would already be free. Or not. Either way, The ritual would be over, and we'd know. All we had to do was get these items. Marianne shifted into a small black crow, her blue eyes still large and bright. I had already created a strong connection to the core of my power, so becoming invisible only took a moment. Together, we stepped outside the barrier and flew toward the Harris house. I used levitation instead of my demon form so that it wouldn't leave a trail. It only took us 10 minutes to get there. We settled into the field across the street from the house and waited. We didn't dare talk or change from our current forms. There was zero room for error this morning. Nothing happened for a long time, but finally, around 7:15, the front door opened, and Brooke's mom stepped onto the porch wearing black leggings and an oversized t-shirt. She stood on the porch for a few minutes stretching, then stuck her earbuds in her ears and took off down the dirt road. 1 down, 2 to go. Angela had said Mrs. Harris ran 5 miles in the morning. At a decent pace, that meant we had about 45 minutes before she'd be home. The clock was ticking. My toes danced inside my shoe. When the door to the garage opened 15 minutes later, I bit my lip to hold back my excitement. Mr. Harris's car backed out as he drove away, and I could see he was alone in the car. Now there's just Brooke. I had snagged a watch from one of the houses in the Crow Village and found myself constantly checking it. When Brooke finally emerged from the house, it was right at 7:40. That gave me less than 20 minutes to get in the house, find the 3 items, and get out. I studied Brooke carefully. Every detail of her outfit was important. Dark skinny jeans, leopard print ballet flats, red button-up shirt with a leopard print scarf tied around her neck. Her dark brown hair hung loose down her back. There was no sign of my mother's necklace, and relief filled my heart. I didn't have a plan for what to do if she'd been wearing it today. Seeing her again made a large lump form in my throat. There was a time when I thought she was a good friend, someone I could trust and share my secrets with. I thought she cared about me back then, but she just stood there while Priestess Winter tried to take my life. She got into her car and drove away. I waited a full minute just to make sure she wasn't coming back for anything, then hurried across the road toward her house, still invisible. I stepped around the side of the house, out of view of any cameras. I sat down on the pavement and concentrated on every detail of Brooke's outfit. Slowly, my body transformed. My hair became dark and straight. My clothing changed to match Brooke's exactly. I pulled a small mirror out of my messenger bag and smiled. Perfect. To the cameras, it would just look like Brooke had come home for a few minutes. It wouldn't send off any warning signals, and hopefully no one would pay it any attention. I stood and rubbed my sweaty palms against my jeans. I had about 15 minutes left before Mrs. Harris should be home. There wasn't a minute to waste. I strolled around the front of the house and turned the doorknob. The door was unlocked, and I walked right in. The entryway opened into Brooke's large living room. It brought back strong memories of my first sleepover here, the night we'd all stayed up practicing cheers for my audition. Back then, I thought I'd just been incredibly lucky to have made some real friends here in Peachville. I'd believed this town was really my chance at starting over and having a better life. I swallowed my regrets and started my search for the ritual items. I was sure they wouldn't be out in the open anywhere. When I'd seen the dagger at the Ashworth's house the night of homecoming dance, it had been locked in a black case in Lydia's office. With a quick look around the single-story house, I found the office and looked for the case. After a couple of minutes, I couldn't find it anywhere. I needed to move on. I checked the master bedroom, thinking maybe Mrs. Harris had tucked it into her closet or under the bed. I looked everywhere, but there was no sign of the cup or the dagger in the bedroom. Where else could they be? I tapped my toes nervously. 10 minutes left. A growing panic welled up inside. Mrs. Harris could be back any minute now. What if she decided to take a shortcut, or if she was an exceptionally fast runner? I had to hurry. I decided to start in the living room and go through each of the rooms one by one. I would just have to go as fast as possible and search inside every closet or closed space. After looking in the living room and the kitchen, I stepped into the hallway that led down to Brooke's room, and the tiny hairs on the back of my neck stood up. My heart skipped a beat and I gasped. I could feel them. The stones inside the ritual items were practically calling out to me. Excited, I stepped forward, following some strange connection I felt deep within. I passed a closed door on the right side of the hallway, and my arms erupted in goosebumps. I backed up and opened the door. The room had probably belonged to one of the older Harris girls at some point, but was now set up as a basic guest room. There wasn't much here except for a queen-size bed, 2 bedside tables, and a dresser. But it was the dresser that caught my attention. I walked straight over to it and ran my hands down the front of each drawer, stopping as I reached the second one from the bottom. I clasped the clear glass knobs and pulled, breathing in deep to calm the flutters in my stomach. There, nestled next to a blue velvet ritual robe, was a black case and a silver cup. 10 pages today for episode 15. Oh my gosh. So we're getting into it. There was a lot of discussion here. And, when I was writing this, I remember it's like, I don't want it to be boring that they're having these discussions about what to do, but they do need to make a plan. And I wanted to actually show their thought process as they're coming up with this plan, as they're thinking through who's going to help us, who can we trust. And one of my favorite lines ever is when Harper says, "Trust was a tricky thing. You never really knew if someone could be trusted until you found out they'd already betrayed you." I love that line because it is so true to life. It's like you can love someone with all your heart. You can give them every piece of yourself. You can trust them completely. And as long as they haven't betrayed you yet, you feel that you could trust them. But you don't actually know one way or another definitively, can I trust you or not, until you find out they betrayed you. And then the answer is clear that you cannot trust them. Otherwise, there's always that possibility that they could betray you. And that is the scary thing about reaching out to Eloise. It's like she's had this relationship. She obviously helped Eloise find Caroline. They helped save Caroline's life, but she doesn't know where Caroline's loyalties lie. Plus, we know that the Order likes to hold things over people's head and be like, hey, you know what? If like with I'm trying to think of the name of the guy now from the Underground, because I have 2 names in my head and I don't want to say the wrong one. But the guard from the Underground that was letting people down, he was like that. It's like you don't know for sure exactly what happened with him, except that maybe they threatened some of his family. And that has happened many, many times in the Order's past. Is like if they promise you that they will help you, that they promise you that they're gonna, like, oh, your sister was taken, but we'll get her back for you if you come on our side of things. Or if it's like, we've got your family captive and we're gonna send them to the human world unless you help us. And the Order does that kind of thing with people all the time. And as you go through the series, you'll hear more and more of that. So normal people who might not normally betray you, who really do love you, will still make a choice to betray you if they feel like they have to in order to save someone they love more than they love you. And so there's a lot of complications there. Plus, we also now know, because of Lydia Ashworth, that if someone performs this blood magic ritual, which is a permanent glamour, that someone could be someone they like permanently glamour to be someone they're not. And you never know when that is the case either. So they're taking a lot of risk. They're taking a lot of chances here by making this plan. But the first step is they have to get these ritual items. And if they don't get those, then there's no hope for them, because they need them. They have to have them. So that is today's episode. Episode on Wednesday is going to be awesome. And I hope that you guys will be back for that. Make sure that you hit the like button before you leave. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you guys on Wednesday for episode 16. Bye.